Long, long ago, when the Rakshasas began killing the gods, waging wars, declaring territories, occupying roles of creation, the latter rushed to Shiva and Vishnu to save them. They both found a need to give the gods immortality. Otherwise, the Rakshasas would take over. Therefore, Lord Vishnu suggested Ksheerasagara Madhana, a process to bring out Amrit, the elixir of immortality to give to the gods. Million times larger than your average Titanoboa, serpent Vasuki was used as a rope to churn the ocean of milk with mountain Mandhara. The demons were lured into the churning process and they demanded the head side of Vasuki to be their pull. The gods took the tail side. This is not an insult. When to bow, when to step over, only a wise man knows. Unable to bear the heat, Vasuki spat vicious fire, killing thousands of Rakshasas. RK has the intelligence enough to choose the tail when there would be fire. He also has the intelligence to lead the enemy towards the head if needed. And I have the muzzle power enough to throw the enemy into an already burning pit of flames. Mind and muzzle power together, we stand invincible for the war to come. We went ahead towards the Kali shrine on the mountain. Climbing up, he had told me most of his story. I did not believe at first, seemed like a tale from a fantasy book. But walking in the premises of the temple, I could feel a different vibe. I could clearly see many of the sculptures purposefully broken. There was clearly a destruction here sometime in the history. As I walked further, I stood at a certain perspective. The place seemed similar. The tree, the shrines, and the hall of pillars all positioned perfectly. This was also where the last painting of the seven was painted, the unidentified temple with the dancer. I remember very vividly. What are now fallen temple towers were the background in the painting. Most of the bigger trees were placed similarly in the painting. I was almost certain that I was right. I looked at RK and stopped him. I showed him a picture of the missing painting and asked him to see if this is where it would have been made. He took a closer look at both. Spotting a lion head on the northeastern top of the hall of pillars, he marched to the ruins to verify. After searching through for a while, we did find a sculpture that matched the lion head in the painting. So, 2 of the 7 paintings came from this mountain. They both were with me. And this guy from this village comes all the way to the city in search of a job only to find me. Fingers crossed, I hoped all this had a deeper meaning and not just some stupid joke being played on us by the universe. RK led me to the Kali shrine. If we were to believe the painting, there were supposed to be 2 shrines here. But there is only Kali's. There are traces of another shrine, but seems to be completely collapsed. I wondered what caused such a disaster. As we went in, I saw a Kali statue that resembled my painting, but her eyes were open. RK looked shocked. He turned to me and said, "I swear her eyes were closed when I last saw her." The back wall, the posture, the color, size of the room all check out with the painting. I looked down. I found 2 eyelid-like sculptures. I picked them up and realized where they fell from. By this time, it was late in the evening. As we stepped out and decided to get back down before nightfall, we started hearing distant sounds of anklets but couldn't see anyone around as such. Maybe someone was messing around behind any of the walls that was still erect. I asked RK who it was as he stayed here for a month. He said this was a common happening here with nomads and farmers walking around. We went about our way. I asked him what he did alone on this mountain for 1 whole month. He simply replied, many things. Though I had many questions to ask, I waited for the right opportunity. News in villages are like wildfire. Someone takes a dump in the south corner of the village, the north gets to know about it. For obvious reasons, looking at the convoy and knowing RK came in it, the sarpanch of the village paid us a visit. He offered his place to me and my fellows to stay. He even went ahead to say that RK was like a son to him. Subtly, RK shook his head, saying no such thing had ever happened to him before. We still went ahead to stay there. For a sarpanch, his house was way out of his league. Didn't seem ancestral either, for the bungalow looked modern and new. There were heads of animals hung to the wall, rich furniture, ivory-made tables, shotguns publicly hung. I looked at RK for his opinion. Corrupt, he whispered. The sarpanch sat with us with big smiles. He asked me my whereabouts and why I was here. I remembered the propaganda we decided to do, Michelangelo and granite. I told him that more set of old paintings had come in for us and the stolen ones were not original. I could see his face sweat. I realized that this was a setup by the enemy to gather information. The sarpanch asked if he could see the paintings. I was about to say yes, I don't know why. RK interrupted. No, uncle, he said. Other than the large-scale investors, no one is allowed to see. I went along with him and simply nodded. The sarpanch's face went happy to pale in seconds. He was even biting his teeth internally, looking at RK interrupt. Controlling his obvious emotions, he brought up deceitful smiles, asking how on earth I gave a job to a bird brain that RK is. I said, to the contrary, the sarpanch would not match up to RK's IQ even if he took 7 more births. The sarpanch laughed out loud, echoing the halls filled with dead animals. If he is so brilliant, can he tell what 12 times 8 is? The sarpanch boasted. We both looked at RK. I was hoping he would burst out the answer. RK stood up, walked to an ivory table and touched it. 17 crores and some change, RK said. I wanted to slap my head for backing him up. The sarpanch laughed and laughed that his belly did a jelly dance. That's the value of your assets, RK added, silencing the sarpanch all of a sudden. The rifles are for show. Neither did you kill them, nor do you have means to stuff their faces using taxidermy. They're all bought in an illegal market. You hold faces of deer, antlers, tiger, and all sorts of exotic animals. Not only rare, but also severely punishable offense. But you display them to the public to show you hold power in these grounds. The ivory tables, these are freshly made, not antique. I wonder how many tusks were cut off, or worse, even elephants killed. The sides of these tables are neither worn off nor washed off. The stairs and windows from outside suggest 2 more floors above. A mansion this scale, built on what was previously farmland, suggestive from the soil outside in the yard, with furniture almost all illegal, smuggled animal heads, ivory tusks, not to mention the fake silver painted urns which are actually revealing a tint of hidden gold. I have learned to put 2 and 2 together. You sell any object in this house, it won't go for a lesser price than 10,000 in the market. For someone with such a rich mansion, you sure wouldn't put all your eggs in one basket. There must be other property too. Counting in all that, yes, 17 crores and some change. I'm not even counting the cash that you might have hidden in this house or the bank. That's a minimal bet for a corrupt leader of your stature. Also, 12 times 8 is 96. I don't know if any of the things I said so far is true, but I needed time to calculate 12 times 8. I laughed. The sarpanch had a pale face trying to laugh, but a level of sadness was showing off on his face. Don't worry, my pal here is corrupt too, RK said, coming to have a seat. The sarpanch could smile a bit freely. We all sat down for dinner. Upon RK's signal, we began behaving more and more as tax-evading citizens of India, gaining the sarpanch's trust. The more corrupt he thought we were, the merrier he got with us. He insisted we sit down for drinks. I'm not into that. RK was a late boomer anyway. We told him we'd sit with him, but not chug any. 16 crores, the sarpanch said, taking a peg of whiskey. That's the value of my assets. I raised my eyebrows. Give or take, RK justified himself. I wanted to know if the silver painting vessels thing was true. The sarpanch nodded. A while later, he had to use the washroom and went upstairs. I don't know how I did that, RK whispered in exclamation. I told him this fact that I heard in my childhood. Srinivasa Ramanujan was a devout of goddess Lakshmi. He never had a formal education, especially in math. But he is still the greatest mathematician that the world has seen in the past 100 years. He has left to the world a treasure of 3,900 equations in 3 volumes of books. Mathematicians are still researching on that just to understand. When asked about them, he said his goddess bleeds math and he only saw what was coming out of her. He credited his 3,900 equations to the goddess. Human body is a possibility. It can think, create, invent, discover, manifest, unfold, research, and what not. Tomorrow, he may learn how to fix wings to his shoulders or jumpstart a dead life. But all these possibilities are a subsection of a superior power that can either make or break these possibilities. People often separate laws of nature, physics, science to spirituality. What they don't realize is all these laws of existence also have their own limitations. I told him how his newfound greatness was just a fingernail support from his goddess Kali. He invited us in for a reason. He is just a pawn sent by our opponents in this game of chess. We need to smoke out the minister. We need to bring out the actual vultures, RK said. I started to realize that we had started a dance with fire. Careful enough, we would enjoy it as bonfire in the winters. One mistake and it would eat us without any mercy. I nodded to RK. The sarpanch came down the stairs. I brought up the new set of antique paintings that I got 3-4 times and boasted about their beauty and how they would attract foreign delegates even more. The sarpanch said he'd invest 1 crore if he could see the paintings. I laughed and rejected. Touching his nerve, I even went on to say that I'd only want investors who are in higher positions and can invest in higher numbers. It even made me wonder why my single art exhibit was of such great interest to these people. Surely, there was an undercurrent agenda. We wanted to rest for the night. Next day morning, as we anticipated, the sarpanch started bringing up the big names that could do us a favor by investing in our project. He told us how they could make our dream of largest exhibit a reality. RK exhibited his interest in hearing the names. Atul Rao, a locally elected politician, Vishal Das, a national level businessman, were the top notable ones among the names that he gave us. That's it. We threw bait and big fish started chewing on it. All we had to do was carefully pull the hook up. We asked the sarpanch to arrange a meeting in the city with them. The sarpanch agreed. We headed back to our quarters in the city. RK and I tried to put 2 and 2 together. 2 of the 7 paintings originate at this village. We do not know about the rest. The sarpanch of the same village had more idea about such national level things that he should not have generally known. His contacts exceeded my contacts, me being a public figure of sorts. He showed extra interest in us as soon as I came to the village. As I mentioned new paintings in the picture, he began offering a price to see them. Because we denied, within a day he could pull in investors. To completely understand the hidden agendas, we knew we had to explore the village even more, especially the mountain of mysteries. I had enemies on such a large scale and I don't even know their faces. We knew wolves were surrounding us, hiding under the skin of sheep. RK knows when to throw fuel on the fake skins, and I wouldn't step back to light them up. It would be a dance with fire at the expense of the enemy's life, and I wouldn't mind a tandav in that moment of glory. So, we set off to see our pack of wolves set up to meet in 2 days at the heart of the city. I lit my matchsticks, ready. Please subscribe to this page if you haven't already. We'd love your continuous presence here. Links to next episode and other language versions are in the description below. Watch and enjoy.